Okay, Shahid, what do you make of the club's performance on and off the pitch so far this season?
Very difficult to say because we started the season really, really well. Then we had, obviously a good FA Cup run to Bradford, but we obviously had lots of injuries this year, combined with losing some of our players last season as well, replacing virtually half the team with new players. Takes time to gel. Yeah, obviously, Tommy had a bit of a health scare, but you know what? We're coming towards, it's April, coming to the end of the season, and we've still got so much to play for, and it still can be a very, very exciting season. We've got the FA Trophy game coming up in semi-final. We're almost there, but almost doesn't count. So at the moment, we've still got a lot to play for. So it's exciting rather than having a season that we were halfway there, mid-table, and nothing to play for. So yeah, I think it's exciting. It's still a very exciting season, and the buzz around the ground at the moment. The last week or so with the ticket sales and dealing with the police, dealing with all the safety advisory group. So yeah, it's a great buzz at the moment.
The club generated substantial funds from player sales last summer. How was this invested back into the first team?
We gave the first team management a slightly increased budget on the previous year, but you've got to give them credit how well they've done considering the amount of injuries they've actually had. So we lost some real key players, and really getting some of the players and finding some of this talent out there has been fantastic. And so there's much deserved credit there as well. But against the backdrop of that, we also had serious number of injuries as well. I mean, in the last 10 days, we had 3 major operations, which the club has to fund again. And then you carry on going forward a bit, and then you look at actually with the increase of the national insurance that's coming in, though it's not coming into April, but we've got to start preparing for it now. That's going to increase as well. And then just running the football club on day-to-day basis, when you consider that we need stewarding all the time, we've got away travel, and then you've got all the utilities like gas, electric, everything's gone up. Just the 3 items I just mentioned, travel, stewarding and utilities, that's about £250,000 that we spend on an annual basis. And that's so some of that money goes into running there. We try to cut costs wherever we can. We rely on lots and lots of volunteers and supporters to support us. But the big challenge we have every year is the revenue we generate from the ticket sales and commercials and advertising and sponsorship. It's not enough to run the football club at this level, and that's because of the marketplace we're in, the demands that are there, the competition we have. But we as directors and friends every year, because most clubs make losses, every virtually club makes losses, we top it up through by the 3 directors, which I'm very, very grateful to John and Dean and our friends who helped us to keep the club going. So it's a challenging time. It's the most difficult business to run, but we're doing our best. We make, like everybody else, we make lots of mistakes. We learn from mistakes, and we probably continue to make mistakes, but as long as we learn and we're still trying to deal with it.
Okay, another big topic on everyone's minds is the development of the ground. The dates revealed suggested that work should already be underway. Why is this not the case?
That's a really good question, and I think I share that with the supporters club. We always put timelines on there. It's important to have timelines. If you don't know timelines, then you've got nothing to go and push for, and it also doesn't help. It also helps the people outside. Well, you're making us accountable. Well, you put these timelines in there. You're not delivered that. Against a backdrop of that, And if I just may go back maybe to 2014 when the club was acquired out of administration, myself and John Leppard went to Rushden Borough Council. In 2014, we told them we were sitting on a ticking time bomb. This work needed to be done at the stadium because we had all the asbestos, we had all the stuff cracking, walls and barriers and with lots of infrastructure like drainage and that. We had a lot of challenge with them. So the council were aware of that in 2014. From the council point of view, they needed to understand that the people we're dealing with, they needed to trust us. They needed to know why they want to help us to keep the club going. And they've been fantastic support, but it took them 3 or 4 years to build the trust. They saw our work within the community, our work with the military, our work with, sort of the wider impact of social responsibility. And it was during that time they actually agreed to grant us a long lease, combine that with extended land that we need to develop. And that's what was agreed, and that was 2018-19 was when all this was agreed, and there's a cabinet meetings all documented. Against the issue that I had from 21 to 23, we had the COVID situation. That took quite a lot of stuff away from what was going on. The cost base went up on the material and that's is a well-known fact. But we are still totally committed to deliver this development, as is the council, as is the board. And it's very important for us to ensure that we get the development right, to generate the revenue, to make the club sustainable, to be able to compete. So unless you go and build the road first, no good going buying a Ferrari to run on it and when the infrastructure isn't there, because that will just crash. So important to get the infrastructure right. And where we are now, I met up with the MP, Alex Baker, last week, who's met up with the Minister of Armed Forces last week, and it was a positive meeting, and it's just to sort out the access at the back. And once that's sorted out, which we are expecting imminently, then we can go for planning. What we can also share with you is that there's lots of work carried out by Waits on the structure and that, and then recently a lot of work's been carried out Dean Woods, as you know, and what has come out is that the East Bank is not as bad as we thought it was. It doesn't need to be condemned. So there's opportunity to work around that, because we know how important the East Bank is, because that was the first thing got sold out for the FA Trophy. So we know how important it is. We listen to our supporters. And we're now looking at how we ensure that we still keep that East Bank as part of that development, and make sure that we comply to all the health and safety, make sure the barriers, all the metal works and the roof is all sorted out. So the intention is still to keep the East Bank as it is as part going forward.
Have you taken on board any feedback from supporters in regard to the developments?
Look, this club belongs to the supporters. It doesn't belong to myself, Dean or John. It just belongs to supporters, and it's very important that we take that feedback. And over the course of since we started engaging with Waits, there's lots of feedback that we came back, and we listened, and we know how important the East Bank is. It's the iconic East Bank. Doesn't matter where you go around the grounds, everyone wants to get talk about the East Bank. So that's very important, vital for us to address that. And we listen to lots of other areas, sort of areas about access, disabled access, food, catering, the facilities that we talk about, disabled areas. So we're taking all of that in. But what people need to also appreciate that we've not gone to full planning or anything like that, the real detail side. We're just looking at the outline. But all of that, and we will still be engaging with the fans when it comes to the detail side, what they want. But we're listening to them, and because we listened to them, and it took Dean on his own, and the other people with the board was speaking to how can we make sure that we still, while we've got this development phases going through, we don't end up losing was shutting down the East Bank, and it's been really positive feedback. And there's some work we need to do. It's going to cost some money to do that work, but we really started on that to make sure that the East Bank is part of the heritage of this football club. So we do listen.
Is the club open to new investment, even if that meant a complete sale to a new ownership?
Well, we always said, and we always have been open to, if the right person wants to take over, they're more than welcome to take over. We want to make sure it's the right person we hand it on to, and not end up with clubs that have been gone there and end up within a few years in a different position than what they intended to be. So we're always open for, whether it's somebody wants to take it entirely or investments. And prime example would be Dean. Dean came through, it was introduced to me by his brother-in-law Mark. He's been on there, he's invested, he's been part of that side. So we're always looking for investments. We're always looking for the right person to take over, to take it. We also know our own limitation, what our capabilities are and how far we can take it. So as long as we've got the right person, we're happy to explore that. That right person is not my decision, it's the board decision. Okay, so let's get that clear. It's not Shahid saying I don't want to get rid of it. I've been here 11 years. I'm quite happy to somebody else to take the reins, but it has to be right, because you could end up with And we had a situation. Some previous people wanted to get involved in the football club. We turned them down, and we'd done proper due diligence, asked a lot of questions, ended up with different clubs, and we know what happened to those clubs. So it's very important that we have responsibility not only to keep the football club going, but make sure the person we hand it to is also going to take it in the right hand to the next level. And it's quite interesting that once we announced the long-term lease, how many people came out of woodwork that wanted to get involved in the football club because they saw potential opportunity to do a quick turnaround, whatever it was. So, you have to be careful, because last thing I or John or Dean would want is, they just left it to somebody else and look where they're gone. So we probably still get the blame for that. So it's very important that we hand it to the right person. We'll do our best. We are trying to do our best to run it to the best of our, as I said earlier on, to our ability, how we want to take the club forward. It's challenges all the time. I can tell you, just this last week, if you walk around the ground, John's been here. John Leppard, all our accounts and everything else, making sure it's sort of collecting debts, paying debts. Dean's been out here digging everything up, sorting everything out. So when people don't, there's a lot of love and care about the football club, and it's not where it might think it's not an ego thing, right? But somehow we're involved in there, and now we feel responsible to make sure we keep it going. So there's a huge responsibility for it. Sometimes it's easy saying, okay, let somebody else deal with it, but you have to feel responsibility with that. But we're always looking for investments. So if you know anybody, Becky, let me know.
So on a more personal level, what have been some of the biggest challenges for you, and what have been some of your proudest moments?
Oh, I suppose the biggest challenge was right at the beginning, when John Leppard, when the club went into administration, I suppose, when John Leppard and we were trying to set up a consortium to get the club going, but buy out the administration. To celebrate Frank Burt's 100th anniversary here, the guy who came here when he was 14 in 1926, and he was 98 when the club went into administration. So that was one of the drivers about saving the football club, to ensure we celebrated Frank's 100th birthday against Kidderminster. The game didn't even go on, it rained off, but everybody stayed in there. And just listening to Frank Burt for his history of coming to the club when he was 14, to celebrate his birthday was great. I suppose the thing from the community point of view, I think the biggest thing I've got the buzz out is working with the military. The first football club to lead the military corporal covenant in 1914, 100 years of Great War. So we led every football club nationally to sign up for that. The first club to get the silver employer recognition from the Ministry of Defence, and this year, first club in the country to receive the Ministry of Defence Employers Recognition Scheme, which is just unbelievable, because we are home of the British Army, and we, you know, that is our brand. So I think that's fantastic. And I suppose leading on from there, 2014, which you couldn't make it up, was we drew Portsmouth on 100 years of the anniversary of the Great War. It was pitched, the Army against the Navy, playing Remembrance Sunday at 2 o'clock at Portsmouth, drawing 2-2. I know Sam's not going to be very happy about that from the media, but then bringing them back here and beating them, that goal with Mark Mosley, I suppose that was just the great buzz. Then obviously we had loads of good FA Cup runs, but I suppose to getting into the 2 playoffs, and then I suppose last year, you know, going up to Swindon, West Brom, and things like, even like, you know, that's not belittling, but even going to Tadley in the Hampshire Cup, they looked after so well, real grassroots football. You know, Sittingbourne earlier in like a few weeks ago, but there's been some great events. I think, you know, I made loads of good friends. I mean, you know, I'm sure Dean and John are still my friends. So, you know, but, you know, but then you look at, we still have the same, we still have the same shirt sponsor for the last 11 years. Still the stadium sponsors, you know, Tim Elliott, EBB Paper, we've got Natter, you know, obviously Bridges, you know, been around since there. So we haven't lost any sponsors, which is, you know, in 10 years, it tells you how much work we do within the sponsor, how commercial departments do. Spending time with, you know, seeing our foundation doing really, really well. That's been just, you know, seen really well. What we've done with the you know, people with the site for soccer and the veteran stuff. And I keep going on about the Army, but you can't get away from the fact we are home of the British Army, and that's, for me, there's loads of stuff there. Having the truce concert, so there's community aspect is great. That's really gives us a lot of buzz and how the difference we're making to people. And then I suppose clearly we're sports people. We want to win, and you know, when you go away and win, I've seen some over probably 500-600 games in the last 10 years, home and away. Some been fantastic away results, some awful results away, and then driving back 6 hours on a Tuesday night, losing whatever the score is depressing. But you know what? It's a great club. It's great people. Made some great, on a personal level, made great friends, long-term friends, and you know, I'm hoping to, whether it's today or tomorrow, whenever I go, I suppose, you still keep those friends, really. And I think it's a real buzz around the town. I mean, you know, and I think just look at the FA Trophy now. This is such a big buzz, and I think the town needs that. And I don't know if you remember, we held the Nepalese against the England C team. 6,000 Nepalese came in, the whole week of it. Great community side. Just wish a few more come and watch a bit more football still, but you know, we're still working on it, and the club plays a major part in the social and economic difference of the town as well. I can tell you, on April the 5th, there won't be many, hopefully, there won't, you know, there'll be people that be sold out shops and drinks and food and that. So it brings the footfall into town. So it's a small business in the town compared to a lot of other business, but it's our most highest profile business about the town. So yeah, very proud of the town and the club.
What should fans expect for next year?
Well, every time we start, it's a reset. You know, we're thinking every time we start, we want to win the league. You know, ambition is always trying to get promoted, right? But obviously the constraint against that is, well, limitation, what you got, what budget you got. But we want to be very, very competitive. We're trying to get more, you know, more supporters coming through. Just by actually getting additional, you know, another 300 or 400 people would make a huge difference to our revenue to actually again invest in the first team. Hoping that we don't end up with the injuries that we had this year. It's been horrendous, not only for financials and getting new players in, but for the players that are out because they want to play football. So we're praying for a lot less injuries this year, or next year. But we want to be competitive. We want to be trying to, we always have target inside. Last thing I want to do is put targets in front of you today, Becky. But look, we're competitive. We want to do really, really well, quality football, and really get behind the team really, and trying to do more commercially where it's possible. It's very limited what you can sell at the moment because we're pretty well sold out on everything else. But really, it's really encouraging and asking supporters to come and start. If you've got 5,000-6,000 people going out to West Brom or coming to the Woking FA Trophy, if at least 300 or 400 or 500 of those would come to the games at home would make a huge difference to us. So that's what I'm asking for, really.